Hello and welcome to the 9th episode of Devlog. In this series, we're building an ambitious payroll SaaS from scratch all the way to our first customer. In this episode, we're implementing the quick info feature and setting up privacy mode for the app. To get started, let's copy the salary history component. We'll keep some of the code, but most of it can go. Let's go ahead and display the component on the dashboard. And it's just an empty card. Perfect. From here, we can grab the pay statement salary field and display it as the user's annual salary. To find the most recent pay statement, we'll need to add the created at field to the pay statement model, with the default set to now. Run that migration, and then we can pass this pay statement to the quick info component. And success! The salary of the most recent pay statement is displayed. Let's format this currency and duplicate it so we can see how a bunch of items look on this card. Very cool, and we can set the last pay amount to be the pay statement's net pay. Changing the database entry, we can see that this amount, of course, updates. Let's go ahead and clean up this code by extracting these items to an info card function. It'll take in a title and a value and display the content just like before. This cleans up the code quite a bit, and we'll improve on this even more in a minute. With some extra formatting, this component is starting to take shape. To get the pay date, we can include the pay period relationship on the model. From there, we change the formatter function to display a short date format. And we have August 15th displayed as the last payday from the pay statement entry. Incredible.
They didn't believe in us. God did.
I've gone ahead and changed the pay statement entry in the database to match the data our salary history component has available. Additionally, I cleaned up the code by moving the Prisma queries into a utility file as individual functions we can import and call. With this, our dashboard file is much simpler, and we have more data available to us. Rather than feeding the quick info component with a bunch of unnecessary data, we now construct an object that the component can use. By doing this, we can also provide some default values in case the user does not have any pay statements yet. I also did some more cleanup, making it easier to read and maintain. With some minor styling tweaks, it looks polished as well. Let's push up the code and then take a look at the results. Beautiful, just as I had envisioned this feature. We have the annual salary up front and center, information about the last pay statement, and the date of the next payday. I've put a year to date section on here, but I'll refrain from implementing the logic for now in case we want to put something else on here instead. Switching to dark mode, we can see that the component looks pretty good and matches the rest of the app. The titles are slightly dimmer than the values, so let's make sure they are up to standards. With a contrast of 6.36, we are good to go. Alright, and last but not least, translations. In our en.json file, we can create an object on the dashboard called quickinfo and add the keys we need. Using a ChatGPT, we can also add the translations to the French JSON file. From here, all we need to do is change the titles to use the translations function with the appropriate key. Okay, here's the site in English, and if we update the database and set my user to Francais, we can see that the component is translated perfectly. I hope, my French is not that good. While we are here, let's improve the translations by allowing country-specific locales. Let's include en-ca and fr-ca for Canada in the middleware. We can see that the locale enum we use does not allow dashes or strings, so let's just get rid of this and simply allow any string to be used as a user locale. With the default, of course, being en for American English. Now, if we change the locale to EN-CA, we can see that the salary amounts update to include the US currency symbol. If we change the salaries to CAD, the symbol goes away. Perfect! That was weird. Nice little improvement, and we can push these changes up. Before we move on, let's comment out the year-to-date section from our component, just for now. We'll get back to it later on. Alright, and we are done with this ticket. Alright, next up, let's set up privacy mode. This will be a toggle used to hide any dollar amounts in the app for user privacy. To start off, we'll need a context provider that will tell every part of our app whether the privacy mode is toggled on or off. This is pretty straightforward. We return a React context provider with the privacy mode state variable and a set privacy mode function. Everything else in this file is just standard React stuff. Yeah. I went ahead and wrapped our layout with this provider, so now if we console log the privacy mode state in the quick info component, we can see that it returns the default value false. Perfect. To toggle content between the original text and some hidden filler, we can create a component that returns a string based on the privacy mode state. Here, we'll return a few asterisks if privacy mode is on. To test it, let's set privacy mode to true by default. Nice, the annual salary is hidden by asterisks. Now we'll just duplicate the theme toggle and modify it to create a privacy mode toggle. I slightly modified the info card function to utilize the privacy display component if the info card has private content enabled. In this case, for salary history and last net pay. We can then put the privacy toggle in the profile menu and translate the title. Alright, let's test it out. Works perfectly, and it looks good on the dark theme as well. Very nice. Look at us speeding through these tickets. To improve this, we can change the asterisks to number signs and add a blur transformation. This creates a subtle pop effect when toggling and makes it clear that the values have been hidden. Oop, and I almost forgot. Let's set the privacy mode icon to be the open and closed eyes. Alright, let's push these changes up, and I have a question for you. Do you prefer the privacy feature with the blur effect or without it? Let me know in the comments because I can't decide. And lastly, I added some styling to make the quick info component work on the mobile view as well. In the last episode, LPMO made some good suggestions, so let's go ahead and implement those. They said to decrease the line height for the text in these cards, and increase the distance between the header and the body. They also mentioned that paragraphs should be around 50 words to keep the audience's attention, so I did a quick check of the content and it's pretty close to that, but we'll make sure to keep the text short in the future. Thank you so much for the suggestions, I love to see it. And that's it for this episode. I hope today's work was entertaining. Unfortunately, development has been slowed down quite a bit because I'm back in school. Luckily, I have some days without classes, but since it's the final year, they are drowning us in projects. I'll try to stick to the schedule and upload other types of videos as well. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to keep up with the progress and see where the project goes.